Hey guys, how's everybody doing today? Yeah, we're trying to get Skylar on this stream so we can begin here in a few minutes. Okay, so today Skylar and I will be talking about organizing, reading, and note-taking in the AP World History curriculum, AP World History Modern, and really we're going to be overlapping with a lot of courses because this applies to any single topic.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm taking AP US this year, and it's like all the same stuff, so it's pretty great.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh well, hi everyone, I'm Skylar.
You froze out there. Okay, I think she's having a little bit of technical
That
difficulty.
happened,
Okay.
but I got a 5 on the test. Yay!
Okay, so I'm Varun Karathala. I'm 10th grade. I'm in 10th grade. I'm a sophomore this year. And I took AP World History last year as a freshman. I scored a 5 on the 2019 AP World History exam, and I'm just very happy to be here to be able to share my knowledge. And I'm a history buff, so I love the classical period. A little bit about me. So, okay. So first things first, what is Fiveable? So if any of you students know what Twitch is kind of like a platform for gamers, gaming streamers to kind of connect to their viewers. And so our CEO and founder, Amanda Duemerall, likes to compare Fiveable to Twitch in that we connect students to learners and teachers to learners in a seamless way. We have connections between teachers and students from across the nation and boundless interactivity and learner inclusion. So Fiveable is just a great emulation of the classroom setting in that teachers and students can almost boundlessly connect online.
Okay, so in this stream, oh no, what? Can you click? Yeah. We're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to start off with organizing your day. So we'll go over like ways to plan, more people, hi. We're going to go over some helpful materials. Yeah. And we've got, oh, it's not loading. Oh yeah, we have how to analyze text. So we go through like refining information, the 5 W's, those are helpful, note taking. And then at the end, we can have a Q&A. So if you have questions from class that you want to go over, if you're confused by something, if you have questions, stuff that you want to review from the stream, go ahead and put them there.
Okay, so first off, let's talk about organizing your day, both as an AP World History student and as a student in general. So the first strategy we have is using a paper planner. And this is what I use, so I call it a transformational tool, which allows you to kickstart your day on a positive note and to organize material effectively. So what I do is I categorize tasks by subject and a lot of given amount of time to each. And that's very, very helpful, especially when, people can take, especially I'm a perfectionist, and I like to take almost 2 to 3 hours on things, and I like to set myself to a certain quota of time. And that really helps me because I have a paper planner and I can kind of knock off stuff, things like that. And I also save time for personally enriching activities. For example, I kind of watch movies some weekends. I play basketball on the weekdays. I have different classes that I go to. So it's kind of a break from studies. And paper planners are just, you have to organize your tools, your tasks, and you can kind of keep up with your whole day in one specific platform. Also, make sure to stick to your tasks. When you're on a paper planner, you might deviate from your tasks because you don't have like alarms or anything. So make sure to keep checking it, keep checking off what you've done, what you haven't done, and recuperate from what you haven't done. Most planners employ the same strategies, and you can kind of purchase a paper planner anywhere, like Target, Walmart, any of these general stores, grocery stores really have paper planners. So it doesn't really matter where you get it, it's what you put into it. And then we have online planners, which is basically the same thing, except you can view them from anywhere. You don't have to carry something around if you're the kind of person who likes just viewing stuff online. They'll allow for you to organize your materials in a quick manner and be reminded of any deadlines or due dates. And you can get reminders for tasks. As I said, it's much easier to use an online planner when you're trying to, when you're somebody who's a perfectionist and you spend too much time on certain things. These allow you to kind of have deadlines, allow you to have alarms for when your time is up. Again, you can access plans from any device with internet connection. So that's a very, very helpful thing for you as a student. And Scholar can explain to you because she actually uses an online planner. She listed some helpful sources as My Homework, My Study Life, and Google Calendar. So if you want to go into that, you can, Scholar.
Yeah, I mean, okay, anyway, I use Google Calendar also, so that's where I put like band practice, streams, basketball practice, all that fun stuff. So I would recommend that. And then, yeah. So we're going to discuss some helpful materials for AP World. I know that there's a few that we could go over. So of course there's Fiveable. You guys are on there now, so you've already figured that out. A few years ago, so I think it was Dylan Black who made the ultimate guide to AP World. Really helpful resource. It goes over all these different, study guides. It goes through a very concise notes. And then there's prep books. So I love the AMSCO prep book. I swear by it. I used it as my textbook last year because I didn't have a textbook. And by using the AMSCO book, it had easy to access information. It had practice DBQs. It had practice SAQs, practice tests. It was great. I haven't had any personal experience with Barron's AP. Have you?
I have with Barron's AP because I didn't use AMSCO as much, but I used Princeton and Barron's throughout the year. Barron's is kind of a supplement, just like AMSCO, to your personal review or school review, and it kind of is a good prep for the AP exam and your unit tests. So Barron's is like really, really in-depth for any of you students who are looking for an in-depth analysis, and it gives you more information than you need to know, which is really good if you want to have some context on DBQs, SAQs, and LEQs. It's a lot like AMSCO.
Okay, I was just grabbing my Princeton review book. I used this last year also as like a last-minute study guide. I thought it was really helpful. I still prefer the AMSCO book, but like Princeton Review has many more tests, and they're a lot more similar to like the format of the actual test. So if you're into that, then you should go for the Princeton Review. I also really like the ASAP book. I want to say it was made by Princeton Review, and if you're a visual learner, you have to try it. It's very visual. You can see all these different diagrams, maps. It's pretty neat. And we have a question, 5 steps to a 5. I haven't used it before. One of my friends used it. She said that it worked well. What about you?
I mean, me personally, I wouldn't recommend 5 steps to a 5, and that's why we didn't really put it here. I would much rather recommend like Princeton or Kaplan and Noble, because I actually got 5 steps to a 5, and it wasn't like as informative. It didn't have the best practice test in it. So if you have it, that's great. But like if you don't, it's best to get something that's like Princeton or Barron's. Just me from personal experience, I wouldn't recommend that.
And then, how do you feel about your actual textbook?
You
can go.
Do you mean like, so what textbook are you using right now in your classroom? Because that can kind of be easy traditions. Okay. I haven't heard that. Have you?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So that might be something that your teacher's giving you. But yeah, any textbook your teacher's giving you is, usually like a good textbook. Definitely read through it, because first of all, what you have in the textbook is usually in the, tests, your unit tests and the AP exam. So generally any textbook is pretty good for that, for unit tests. And also Ways of the World is a good textbook. I know that for sure. I've read that.
I used like a prep book as mine, and I thought it worked well. Just AMSCO for the win. I love that textbook so much.
Yeah, I feel like AMSCO and Barron's are more in-class reviews than actual textbooks. They're very, very good.
And then, a lot of comments about traditions and encounters. And then Quizlet sets. That's really helpful for me. My bus ride every morning is like 50 minutes. So whenever I was on the bus, I would just open up my phone, go to this Quizlet set, and just review everything. It has like 1,000 terms, but because the test is different this year, you can sort of ignore certain terms that you may not need, but they're still helpful to know. And then Crash Course World History. I don't know if you've got any Crash Course fans out there, but it's really helpful. There's Freemanpedia, and it's a little more visual, but you can also get like other stuff from it. And then there's AP Worldopedia. And it categorizes by period, which is really helpful. It categorizes by historical themes, which is very nice. You want to talk more about it?
Freemanpedia?
Oh, AP Worldopedia.
AP Worldopedia. Yeah, AP Worldopedia was awesome. I mean, for me, because that was basically our textbook last year. I mean, we had AMSCO, but AP Worldopedia was what I used more so. I took notes on that, and it's just like almost like Barron's. It's very, very hardcore, very, very detailed, and it separates the topics and key concepts very, very well. Again, as Mr. Beckman's mentioning, like textbooks are very good, but primary source reading that you do is very, very important, because it gives you good context for SAQs, LEQs, while providing you with the nitty-gritty details and the broad topics that you need to know. But yeah, AP Worldopedia is awesome.
Oh, wait.
And we have get a 5 on the bottom. Yeah, okay. So get a 5, I mean, have you had an experience with get a 5?
Yeah, I used it a bit last year. I saw some of the videos. I would say the thing about get a 5, I would say though, is at the end they have like these test taking strategies sort of course.
Mhm.
Just be careful because like a lot of the stuff has changed. So like there you have different DBQ format, I think, and the LAQs are completely different. But if you just want to get a general strategy from them, that's helpful.
Mhm. And I think Steve Heimler is the guy I used for DBQs, LEQs. He has a couple updated ones for this year. But yeah, definitely search up Steve Heimler on YouTube. That guy's a great resource for this as well. And me personally, for the AP exam, I just used basically AP Worldopedia. I used that Quizlet just a little bit, but Get a 5 and AP World History Princeton Review were a godsend for me because I just like grinded those 2 months before the exam and just it was very, very good. And I made study docs with all the material from each unit. So that kind of helped me with the AP exam when you consolidate all the materials into one resource. Okay, so how to tackle unit exams. So first, I recommend to create a preparatory agenda and kind of prioritize your tasks and allow set amounts of time to each agenda item because you don't want to wake up on the morning before the test and just start studying then. You want to have a good agenda at least a week before or a few days before to kind of prep, kind of get the jog back your memory, consolidate your resources, things like that. Second, you need to assemble your weapons. So gather your unit notes, your slideshows that your teachers posted, and third-party resources that we just mentioned, and study each of them strategically. And what I mean by strategically is use each in what way you see best. For example, like on Crash Course, I used Crash Course after I did all my unit notes and document analysis and study doc studying, because that was just kind of a wrap up of everything that I learned. So definitely use your weapons, assemble them, and use them as you need to. And third, create a study document, which is really what I did. Search for College Board's key concepts or any teacher create a key concepts that your teacher has given you and elaborate on those key concepts. So that's exactly what I did. I just posted the key concepts from College Board and used my notes, used my PowerPoint to use Crash Course and kind of put detailed notes under each key concept. Fourth, definitely take a practice test. This is something I didn't do in the beginning of the year. I started doing in the end of the year, and it's a really, really good thing to do, a good practice to get into because first of all, it prepares you for the kind of questions that you're going to get into on the AP exam and on stimulus-based exams throughout the year. So make sure to take that unit practice test, get that knowledge, take it in test-taking form, and get those strategies for May.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, my biggest regret with AP World was not taking more practice tests. So like I figure, if I had taken a practice test earlier than late April, maybe I could have felt more prepared for the test. And then
as Jed said, practice tests, when you take them, you can kind of single out what you need to learn. And it's a really good strategy for any test. Single out what you need to learn and study those things really, really hard.
Okay, and now we can sort of discuss analyzing text. Now, I want to do a big disclose, just talk one point here, and that is that I am greatly oversimplifying how to analyze a text just for this one scenario, because there's going to be more in-depth streams that are entirely on this one topic. But anyway, here's like my go-to strategy for analyzing a text. I will read through it one time if it's like a chunk of text. If it's a picture, I'll really try and examine all the different details. And if I have any questions, I just write them on the side. And, that's very helpful because then you can figure, well, what do I need to work on here? How can I adjust my thinking? And then what you should do is you should make a summary of what you saw. Now, some people, they can keep it in their head. Other people need to write it down just to really absorb the information. And then what you should do is think about the 5 W's. You've got who, what, where, when, and why. I've heard some people use how. I don't personally. I just think it's kind of weird to format a question in my head with that. So when we're thinking who, we have who made the document, what is their point of view? So when I say their point of view, I mean like, well, are they biased on the subject? If they're Native American and they're getting massacred by, Spanish settlers, what would be their point of view on this topic? And then that's pretty self-explanatory. What is the main idea? What are some key concepts you can gather from this? Where, where is it from? What location is it talking about? When was it written? And then for why what just happened? My screen just froze. And then we have why, which is like, why was the document created? Was it a court decree? Was it a an account of oppression. You have to figure that out. But remember, you may have a completely different technique, so just keep that in mind.
You can go ahead and break down this text.
Oh, yeah, okay. So just feel free to fill out some questions as you go. I think the first one we'll talk about is who wrote this document. So this is actually from the DBQ last year. I cut out the bottom part of it because I didn't think that it was necessary entirely. So yeah, feel free to answer in the comments who wrote this document and is it a primary or secondary source? Yeah, okay. So this document, if you look at the top, it says that it was written by, I'm sorry if I mispronounce this, Aladdin Riyad Sia al-Kahar, and he was the ruler of the Sultanate of Aceh. Also, definitely didn't pronounce that right. So basically what we're thinking about, it was written by him, and is it a primary or secondary source? So we know that because he was in this time period, he had a direct, I don't want to say vision, like a direct witness to this account. It can be considered a primary source. If it were a secondary source, then it would be maybe someone, 300 years later writing about this. Okay, and what are some of the contexts that we can attribute to the document? So we're looking at time period here. Just put your answers in the comments.
Is their time period still like 1450 to 1750, or did that change up?
Oh yeah, that would be helpful to know.
Yeah. It might have stayed the same. I'm not sure. A still period? Okay.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, if that's still a period, then it's within that period.
Okay, then if no one's going to answer this one, we can put it in the time period 1450 to 1750. And basically what this means is that we know that there's still a relative, well, there's a relative ownership of the Indian Ocean trade system by the people living in that region. The Europeans are starting to immigrate there. They're starting to take over the trade, but they don't own it completely. So what are some of the important details that we can take away from this document? So, we could just look for big details there.
And context-wise, also, we see the age of exploration during this period. And that's kind of what characterizes this period, is the age of exploration, the Portuguese setting up trading post empires in Asia, in Africa, things like that. So it gives you good context if you know.
Okay, then. So we can tell that some important details are that the Portuguese are really encroaching upon the Ottoman territory. Another detail, it's the Ottomans. So we can know, okay, this is a gunpowder empire. They have guns in comparison to other people around them. Another stuff we can figure out, it's a ruler system. So they have the king, your majesty. Another thing is that they seem to have relative control of the area. So if we look at how our ships, that implies that they have boats, they have a presence in the area. And then what's the main idea of the document? Just leave that there. Okay, well then I would say that the main idea of this document is that the Portuguese are really beginning to encroach on the territory of the Ottomans. Yeah, that's really it. We can see that they're sinking people. They're killing the Muslims. They're killing the Ottomans.
And we're talking, the main idea of this text. You can also kind of refer back to what she said about who wrote this document. Again, it's the Sultanate of Aceh's ruler. And he's kind of reporting to Suleiman I, who, if you know who Suleiman I is, he's a great Ottoman emperor who kind of consolidates rule over the region. He allows for cultural talking points and different things like that. So he allows for the age of exploration to occur during this period. And that's very important to know when you're talking about the main idea.
And then we have the last question. How does their apparent role influence their thoughts on the Portuguese? We can just put that in the comments. Okay. 15 seconds, and then we can discuss. Okay. So then we can figure this one out. So it seems like that the Portuguese, they're really coming in onto the Ottoman territory. So he seems like he might be angry. He might dislike the Portuguese for this reason. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. Okay. So we're moving on to note taking 101, how to take notes, different strategies for taking notes. So first we're going to talk about in-class notes, which are, really different than out-of-class notes because you have to do different strategies, different kinds of things that you do in class notes that help you comprehend information more strategically and better. First, always closely follow the teacher's lead and take note if he or she emphasizes a certain event or concept. And I cannot stress this enough because when a teacher says something like 7 times, 8 times, it is definitely important. And the biggest mistake that you can make as a note taker in class is to not follow that cue. Teachers don't usually say that this is going to be on the test, but their most common way of saying this is by repeating the concept over and over and over again. For example, me myself, in the AP US history course, my teacher mentioned something called a castle or on a hill or a city upon a hill, a quote by John Winthrop in AP US history. And so he said this like 7 times, and I questioned myself, why does he keep saying this? And then so I took note of it. I researched the city upon a hill over and over and over again, and what do you know, I saw it on my unit test. And I'll likely see it on the AP exam as well. So definitely follow the teacher's lead. They're the content masters. If they say something over and over again, it's definitely important. So in-class note-taking strategies. So there's 2 strategies that I use for note-taking and that are commonly used for note-taking in class. One is Cornell Notes. So on the top right of my screen, I've shown a picture of my own Cornell Notes. And basically, Cornell Notes are basically you divide your page into one left section that's 25% of the page, and then one right section that's almost 75% of the page. And on this left section, as you can see, you basically put any topics of the lecture, any questions that you have during the lecture that you can answer in the right section, which is basically all the topics that you learn about, all the information you learn about, the more nitty-gritty details. So the real benefit of using Cornell Notes as a system is that you can flip through your textbook or your notes book and you can just know every single thing that you're talking about. Because if you want to study, for example, where I was talking about John Winthrop, I can flip through my AP US history textbook and find John Winthrop on the left side. Instead of having to sift through pages and pages and pages of notes, I can just easily view these things on the left side. There's also something that I like to call leading topic strategy that many people more commonly use. It's pictured on the bottom right. It is so basically in the leading topic strategy, you have a certain topic and you have different subtopics under that topic to kind of have the nitty-gritty details. It's a similar mechanism as Cornell Notes, but in the leading topic strategy, it's much more ununiform. It's much more open to inquiry, open to design, and you can kind of create mind maps within the strategy, but you can't easily sift through information. Like if I was looking for John Winthrop again, I have to search through pages and pages and pages of material before I found it. So the importance of note-taking and overall comprehension. I do want to talk about how important note-taking is when we're talking about AP World History as a course and how to succeed in AP World History. So phrasing topics into your own words, as you know, if any of you are taking AP psychology or something like that, you know that phrasing things into your own words helps create neural pathways. And when you do so, you kind of gain a more strong comprehension of the AP World History topic that you're learning about. Also, I like to stress something called context dependence, which is a real thing in psychology. For example, when you're sitting in a room learning information and you take the test in the same room, you're much more likely to grasp that information. So I'd much rather recommend taking notes in class than taking notes at home simply for this reason. Because when you take notes in the classroom, you're much more likely to understand and comprehend and jog this information when you're taking the test, which is a good thing to have in your arsenal.
Is my computer frozen?
No, you're fine.
Oh, okay, cool. I thought I was having some problems before. I think. Oh, never mind. Okay. So should I discuss the at-home textbook notes?
For sure, yeah.
Okay. So basically, what we have to remember about AP World is that, like you said before, it's very different taking notes in class than it is at home. So when we're at home, we have to remember there's all these different subjects that we have to discuss in our notes. So we can't take notes that are the entire textbook. That is super important. So I'm going to do a little demo on what to do if you realize, oh no, your notes are too long. So I sort of call this taking notes on notes. I'm just going to share my screen real quickly. So I went ahead.
I can put it on my screen if you want.
Wait.
Yeah, it's on my screen.
Wait, am I sharing what I think? I'm just going to try and share the note study guide demo. Oh no, my computer says, yikes, something went wrong.
Okay, I have the demo on mine. I can share it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I can just write it on my document and then it can show up on yours. So what I did is I went ahead and I wrote some notes on the Inca Empire. But oh no, I wrote way too much stuff. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to go through and try and refine this information. So I'm going to start off with the portion entitled Geography. So basically what this means is that we can take out a large portion of this. So down here I'm going to write Geography. And really all we need to know from here is that it's based in the Andes Mountains. If you want to, you could include the 2,000 miles thing. I don't think it's super important for this. Next up, we have this large chunk of governing and society. So what we can sort of figure out is that we get the gist that the ruling class is really viewed as this godly presence. So I'm just going to consolidate this into ruling class. Oh, wait. Government, society. Ruling class has.
So me personally, what I do is I take online chapter reviews, and if you can see on the right of the screen, I've posted one of my chapter reviews. I'm a very articulate note taker because I take almost every single thing in the text, and that's Scholar's first thing is more concise than anything I can ever do. So I write in whole sentences when I take notes. But usually what I do is I have again, I use the AMSCO book for AP US history, and I have chapter reviews, and I kind of post everything that's important to know, as you can see. And I have some pictures in it so I can better comprehend the information. But what I do to concise my notes is I list of key terms. Like, for example, I have here the First Continental Congress. That's one of the key terms from AP US history and Unit 2. So I really have this as a key term section, and it helps me consolidate my notes from around 20 pages to around 2 pages. So it's very, very helpful for you to put some key terms in there. Again, what Scholar's doing is very, very helpful as well. And she's back on the call. Okay, you're back on the call. So I'll go back to your.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, so back to the note study guide as well right now. We had a pretty big storm a little while ago.
Oh no. Yeah.
Anyway, so I was discussing government and society. So we can tell from my earlier notes that the ruling class, clearly they have this religious affiliation. That means that they own all the property. So what we can do is write ruling class, religious affiliation. And then we can do like a nice little arrow. And then write own everything. And don't worry if you spell anything wrong, because that just happens. We can also write under the ruling class value conquering, because if you haven't already learned about the Inca, a big feature of them is that they, in order to sustain your place in this eternity, you have to conquer more and more land. If you scroll back up, you can see that we also discuss expected to give a portion of harvest in times of famine. So we could go peasants give food to rulers. And that sort of makes it shorter. We see large cities, Cusco's upward of 300,000 people. So if I think about that, I realize, oh, well, I put that in the wrong spot. So I can just add on to my geography section. Large cities, Cusco. Because an important thing to remember with AP World is that you don't necessarily need to have these exact numbers. So you don't necessarily need exact years. You don't need exact number of people. So that's why I just wrote Cusco without the 300,000. And then if we go down, we can see women care for household, fields, clothes, own property, religious roles. I can just write, if I want to, I could skip over that, but that tends to be very important in comparing and contrasting different empires. So I could just write women had roles like farming, religion, and home. Okay, and then we have the last part, which is religion. I can just write that they were polytheistic and they were good at architecture. So if you look at that, I really consolidated my notes. So that way it's almost like a study guide. And if I wrote too much, then I can have a lot less. So it's more concise and I only have the really important details. And that is all for my note study guide demo.
For sure. That was a good demo. I mean, I can learn from that as well.
Yeah, at the end of the year last year, I did that on all of my notes, which was helpful because then I was able to have like this very short area of what I needed to study for the entire course.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I think that wraps up our session here today. And as we said, we're going to open up a Q&A period for any of you have any questions from class, unsure about study strategies, or need a review on any AP World History topic. We're here to help. We just took the course, so we're very knowledgeable about the AP World History curriculum. So if you have any questions about what we did here today or any unit questions, feel free to reach out in the poll section or the comment section. So yes, as Mr. Beckman said, notes on notes is a very powerful strategy.
It appears that we have a question in the question and answers part. So it says, how do we know what is important while we take notes on our notes? That is a very good question, Noah. So basically what I would say is you want to look for historical themes. Can we get a picture of the historical themes? AP World. Let me just find one. So I need to find a way to share my screen, which I do not know how to do.
I can do mine if you send me the link. But
okay. Actually, wait. I thought I put one on the slideshow. Okay. Well, I'm gonna try this. No, I need to have historical themes. Just give me 1 second. Sorry for how long it's taking.
Yeah, I'm on slide. You can send me a picture of it, and I can just put it up.
Oh wait, I think I might. Sorry for the wait. Okay, so let's just ignore the fact that there's writing in the background. So if we look here, we can see that I have a list of the 6 historical themes. So and when you're taking notes on your notes, it's very important that you include these. So for example, if you look back, I had part about governance. So we had, I talked about the ruling class. I talked about what they owned. I talked about some cultural developments. So we had the religion in there. We had the role of women, humans and the environment. For that one, I didn't include a lot in my notes on notes, which I probably should have had more of. But I really just talked about the geography. We can see there's technology and innovation. I probably should have included something, but it's very important. It's called quipus. And basically that was their written language, you could call it. And basically they would tie these ropes into strings, tie these ropes into knots. And basically that was how they were able to send messages over long distances. So if I had included that, I could have considered that to be theme number 6. Did that sort of answer the question?
And sorry for the interjection, but all the units also have key concepts. So with Scholar's themes, you can also kind of integrate the key concepts for each unit, which you can just search up by finding AP World History Modern Unit 1 key concepts, Unit 2, things like that, which is what really I use for my notes. Yeah, like he said some students color code the themes and use these colors for the secondary notes, which is, very powerful. I mean,
another thing you can do, a lot of textbooks and prep books, they have these things where they bold the title. So if you have like a big person, like, oh, it's Moctezuma, he was a very big character. You should probably include him in your notes on notes. Or maybe they have, the name of an empire. You can include that. You probably should include that in your notes. So we just have to mark that answered.
Okay.
And then
tips on managing a reading schedule, how to manage reading when teachers assign 20 to 30 pages a night. So that's actually a great question. And, a lot of my friends, my peers ask me about that as well. The main thing I do, at least, I don't know about you, Scholar, but what I do is I kind of cut down that into like 20, 30 pages within 5 days. So I have 6 pages per day. 6 times 5 equals 30, obviously. But that's how I do it. I just organize these pages into a certain week or a certain time period. So it makes it much easier to cut each page or page number into a certain period of time.
Yeah, like in the first week of school last year, my history teacher assigned us like this 100. Sorry, my sister came into my room. My teacher assigned us this 100-page chunk of reading that we had to have completed by the end of the week. And I was like, how am I going to do this? So I did what you said. I put it into different chunks. I had like 10 pages. I would do 10 pages during lunch. I would do 10 pages on the bus. And so if you sort of shorten it into different segments, that makes it easier to read.
Yeah, and also, just like she said, my psych teacher gave me like 100 pages to read in the first week of school this year. And I was kind of, because I'm used to taking notes on a paper, so I had to kind of morph my methods and kind of take notes on computer to kind of meet his quota. So always try to morph your methods if you have too much reading, too little reading. It really depends on how much reading you have every night. And that's how you need to look at the reading first. That's a mistake I made last year. Look at how much you have. Look at how in-depth it is. Look at how hard it is to comprehend and plan your study schedule in that manner.
I would also say, okay, this has happened to a lot of us, especially for me, but sometimes you'll realize, oh no, I didn't do the reading. And then you'll be in a study hall one period before the class starts. So what I would say then, if you absolutely do not have time to read through everything, I would say try and read through the first and last sentence of every paragraph. If you are really running out of time, if you have no time, the first sentence gives you a main idea, the last sentence gives you a summary. That's what I would do.
I mean, also we have people like Patrick Lassiter or many people like Steve Heimler, Patrick Lassiter, people like that on YouTube. They post reviews of AMSCO and Barron's, Princeton. You have reviews for every single textbook online. And they often cut down the time you have to learn the information. Like almost 20, 30 pages becomes 20 minutes online. So if you're doing it the night before or the day before, that's usually what I do. If I have too much work, I just use the videos and take notes on the videos.
Oh yeah. Eric Beckman brought up that we should also look at the images and captions, which is a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
More questions?
Images, captions, bolded words, anything like that, anything that matter. When you're pressed for time, look at those because those are really important. Primary sources, again, secondary sources. That's what you need to know.
Sometimes, I don't know, not all textbooks have this, but sometimes in like the corner of the first chapter, it'll say like things to know. It'll be like, hey, who were the Inca? What were their main technological innovations? You should try and look for those.
Yeah, and obviously we recommend reading the textbook, but if you have like a vocab sheet, I know in AMSCO at the end of each chapter we have vocab sheets. Look up the vocab in the book and have a sheet of vocab which you can use because vocab is really what you have in handy. Context is always important, but vocab is usually what gets you through. All right. So I don't see any more questions, any questions or polls for the chat. All right, so I think we can end this session here. Okay, so thank you for coming. Definitely view our streams tomorrow, day after. We have streams every day, every week, almost every month. And definitely view them, support us, support your learning. We make it much more easy to comprehend your in-class information. So thank you. Follow us on our socials at Think Fiveable on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. We post reviews on YouTube sometimes, clips of reviews. So definitely view those things. Thank you for joining. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.